People are so accommodating if you just let them know what's going on. So get out of the house, take your kids on trips, take them to the restaurant. Don't be scared of how they're going to act or if they flap their hands or act really weird. Who cares, you know? I think prayer works a lot. I also think talking to people helps a lot. Even if you're embarrassed about whatever you're going through, you know, I always feel better after I talk to somebody about it. There's never anybody who can't find someone to listen, even if you have to pay them. Go get some therapy. Therapy's great.
Hey everyone, this is Rod Cade and welcome to this week's episode of Rocket Motivation. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Gat Creek, making beautiful handcrafted wood furniture all in the United States of America. Check out gatcreek.com. This week's guest is a mother of 2 sons. Her oldest, Rock, has severe autism. This week's guest will share her story of raising her son, the ups and the downs, the triumphs and the tough times. She has taken her experience and started and is the executive director of Dance Without Limits, a nonprofit that provides dance instructions to special needs individuals. In her spare time, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, she is a development associate at Children's Hospital of Alabama, where she does fundraising. She's going to share her advice for parents raising autistic children and her philosophy on making a great life. Kerrie Benson, welcome to Rocket Motivation.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Well, Kerrie, let's do this. Let's start by telling listeners kind of where you are now in your life. What do you do? Family, just kind of catch us up.
Okay. Well, as you stated, I live at home with my 2 beautiful boys. Rockstar, that's what I call him. He is 15 years old and he has autism. And I think that it's important to note that, you know, a lot of people think autism, oh, okay, well, they're just a little bit weird or, you know, a little quirky, but that's not really the case at our house. He's got pretty severe autism, which means he does speak. He's got to be real motivated to do so. He can speak, he can read, he can write, he can do a lot of things that we'd never thought he could do through some serious therapy. And now, you know, we say he's in the 7th-ish, 8th-ish grade. There's not really a level of measurement there, but I live with him and my younger son, Colt, who is 11. He is neurotypical and he is definitely weirder than his brother. And I'm the director of Dance Without Limits, which is as a dance studio I started for kids specifically with disabilities. That's all we take. We don't take regular kids.
And we're going to get into the Dance Without Limits in detail later on. But let me ask you this. You were talking about Rock, and you were kind of explaining, you know, kind of the levels of autism. Is it classified like as mild, moderate, severe? Is that how they do it?
Sort of, yes. I mean, that's what people would say. Well, is he high functioning? You know, does he have severe autism? I classify severe autism as not being able to function independently. He will live with me forever, absolutely, which is actually okay with me because I kind of like the little kid. Yeah, his independent skills are not quite there to make it on his own. And it takes a minute to understand what he's saying. He can't really communicate with adults other than myself and teachers just because his speech is not very clear. His independent living skills are not where they need to be. You know, he's just going to be with me forever.
Right. He was your first son.
Right.
So this is the first child you've ever had. So this is all you know as far as...
Oh my God. I didn't even babysit growing up. I didn't know anything about kids. I've never changed a diaper. And all of a sudden I have this baby. And then, you know, things are going okay. But about at the year marker, you know, we noticed that he wasn't doing some of the milestones. He wasn't talking, cooing. He didn't walk or crawl on time. You know, there was just a lot of things that he wasn't catching up to, and I'm really not one to panic, so I always thought, you know, he'll catch up. He's just a little late bloomer. But, you know, my mom said it the best. On his first birthday, he didn't grab the cake and shove it in his face like most kids do. He just sat there and he didn't really know what to do with any of the toys anyone brought him, and he got overloaded and basically had a meltdown. And my mom was like, you know what, I think the light has just gone out of his eyes. I don't know what happened, but he just doesn't seem right for a 12-month-old baby. And so we had him evaluated, and through a couple of evaluations from professionals, we finally got a diagnosis at 18 months that he was what they would quote as classic autism. No eye contact, speech, communication skills, and just behavior problems out the yin yang.
Right. And we'll talk about some of those in a minute. But so, all right, what's going on in your mind? All right, so this is your child, and okay, you get a diagnosis for autism. How are you handling it? What's going through your mind?
Probably a lot like most people do. You have your initial meltdown and pleading with Jesus to fix it. And then you get your boots on and do everything you can to make it better. And most parents, just like me, do all the stupid things and the snake oil. We took him to all these weird doctors. And I remember we tried all these injections, B vitamins to shoot the autism out. We'd have to give it to him in his little rear end while he's asleep. I mean, that's horrible. This hyperbaric chamber. Okay, let's take an autistic toddler and zip him up in a bag alone and see how that goes.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it's easy to sell someone on hope.
Oh, yeah, because all these people have been cured from this diet and this thing. And you have to try them all just to say you did. But then after you've tried them all, you realize that really these are the cards that you have.
So the early years, all right, he gets his diagnosis at 18 months. Kind of the first 5 years of his life, I mean, kind of what's going on? How what's going on with him? And then, how are you dealing with it?
Well, day drinking definitely showed up in the picture during those times. But the toddler years, I would say all the way to maybe his 6th or 7th birthday, were really tough. We went to a amazing preschool where we got ABA therapy, but insurance didn't cover it way back then, so it was out of pocket and it was really expensive. But that's really the only thing that helped him: therapy and speech therapy and occupational therapy. But his behaviors, oh my God, he would strip down naked in public. I remember I stole a grocery cart one time out of an undisclosed supermarket parking lot and took it home so that we could teach him how to stay with the buggy in the supermarket. Because, I mean, he was getting big and it was looking weird to have him sitting in the buggy, you know?
Yeah, it's hard to have an 8-year-old in the...
Right. So I remember being in the parking lot at night, opening my trunk, trying to shove this giant buggy in my car and speeding away before I got arrested. But it worked. And, we just tried to make his life as normal as possible. We tried to put him in activities, just lots of failures trying to make him normal, until finally I was like, you know what? He's not normal. So let's just try to make him happy.
Right. It's your son, Rock. He's the one who has autism.
Right.
But you're the one who is, you're his mother, his primary caregiver, who's really dealing with him on a daily basis, especially when you go out. How is it affecting you and your life?
I think at first it was really hard because I was more worried about not disturbing other people and what other people would think. And I didn't want anyone to judge him. I think I told you earlier that, I would leave grocery carts full of food right there in the grocery store and, wouldn't take them home because he was having a meltdown and we just needed to get to the car and just get out of that situation. Sometimes you just need to get groceries, so people in the line are just going to have to deal with it. And people give lots of good advice, well-meaning, especially older people that will say, well, yeah, that kid just needs a spanking. I remember one lady in line at the bank, he makes this humming noise when he's happy, and he still does it now. He's 15. So when he's happy, he'll just go like, he'll just make this humming noise over and over again. And I remember she was like, does he have to do that? And I was like, yes, he does. Do you have to be rude? You get a sharp tongue after so many years. And not that anybody means anything harmful by it, but you got to stick up for him. He can't stick up for himself. The good part is he doesn't know if anyone's making fun of him. He has no idea if he's being stared at. He is completely oblivious to any of that. And I think that is the most beautiful thing about him, because he could give a shit. I'm going to flap my hands and jump up and down and say all these weird things, and I don't care who's looking at me. I wish we could all be like that.
Yeah. And, going through the daily life with that, do you ever get frustrated with the situation?
I used to, but I am very much, you know how they say nurses and doctors like disassociate from things, like they don't take it home, they don't take their work home. I'm real good now at looking at the situation and saying, all right, well, we just got to get through this and then we'll go home. You know, I don't let it really bother me. And I love to just fix the situation, get what we need to get done, and move on. I'm very much a mover-oner.
Right. Well, have you ever had the why me moment? Why does my child have to have severe autism? Did you ever go through that?
Maybe like some capacity, but I don't feel like I ever really got into the, oh, feel so sorry for myself. I just didn't. I don't know why. I've just always had hope that everything would be okay, even if this was what we're dealing with. It's all going to be okay. I mean, look at all the other things he could have had. You know, we're actually really fortunate. And, you know, I always mention that, yes, he's 15 and I have to do a lot for him still. But, God, if he was a normal 15-year-old, he'd be watching porn on his iPad and, like, sexting girls and getting in trouble. And he would hate me and probably underage drinking and smoking weed. And I don't need that. Yeah. And right now, he's like the most sweet 15-year-old ever. He still lays his head in my lap and wants me to play with his hair. And he thinks like I'm the coolest mom ever.
And I would think that, I mean, your bond with your son, Rock, has got to be just, I mean, how would you describe it?
And on the good point, on the good side, I think that I can see in him what he wants to say more than most people. Like, I know if he's about to do something crazy, I can see it before it happens. And I know if something's hurting him. I know if something's bothering him. I know when he's happy. You know, some of the sounds he makes, people are like, oh, God, is he okay? I'm like, yeah, that's his happy noise. He's great. I feel like I just know him inside and out. And he probably knows me inside and out. I mean, he's my shadow. He probably knows how to put my makeup on better than I do, you know?
Yeah. So how do you parent Rock to give him the best life?
I really, really try, and it's hard, but I really try to treat him like there's nothing wrong with him. Because I have his brother at home too. I can't be easy on Rock and hard on Colt because that's just not fair. So if he does something wrong, he gets in trouble. He has chores he has to do too. And I found, especially with most children with disabilities, if you expect them to do it and you treat them like you expect them to be able to do that, most of the time they can do a lot more than you think they can. I would never expect he could wash dishes and load a dishwasher and unload it and put them all back where they needed to be. That's hard for a grown adult to do.
Well, at least for a man.
Yeah. You just expect it. You act like you expect them to finish the task and they'll do it. So I really do try hard not to let him get away with much.
Well, and let's talk about Colt. Okay, so Colt's 11, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. How has it affected his life having an older brother who is severely autistic?
I'm sure way more than he lets on. Like during the pandemic, he was having to do his school online. Well, Rock didn't have that. I mean, you don't sit an autistic kid that doesn't communicate in front of a computer and say, okay, do your stuff. But he would have to do it. And, you know, every once in a while, his little jerky self will come out and be like, well, I wish I had autism so I wouldn't have to do this. And I'll snatch him up real quick and set him straight. On the flip side, I call him the best big little brother. He knows he can stick up for Rock. He's yelled at kids on the playground that were ugly to him. He can give him his medicine. I mean, he knows that if anything happens to me or his dad, he will be the one in charge. We talk to him about that a lot, and he knows it, and he's okay with it. He always says he's just going to marry a really sweet girl that will help him take care of him.
Their relationship, though, I mean, I guess their, brother bond, I guess, how does Rock react to Colt, too?
He's probably the one kid that doesn't bother Rock. Rock, he's annoyed with other children, really. He likes to talk to adults more than kids. He loves his brother. He wants to know where he is all the time if he's not at home. And I guess this is probably the best example. They both have their own room at our house, but they sleep in the same room, which I think is the sweetest thing,
with Rock, does he like a schedule?
Oh my gosh, yes. And he knows, autistic kids aren't stupid. They know stuff that we don't expect them to. He knows when it's Sunday, he goes to church. He knows when it's Monday, we go kayaking after school. Tuesday, we go to the dance studio. Wednesday, he knows it's bike night. And if those things don't happen, you better have a real good replacement.
Right. Yeah, right. And I would assume the same thing with Colt sleeping in his room. If Colt decides, I'm going to go sleep in my own room, that might have...
I'll be sleeping in there, I'm sure. It'll be great.
All right, well, let's talk about Dance Without Limits. All right, so first of all, what is it?
We are a nonprofit dance studio that only serves children and adults with disabilities. So our youngest student is 3, and our oldest is, I think, 65. There's no requirements to come there. Like, there's no disability that's too tough, I guess is what I'm saying. There's so many parents that will call and say, well, my daughter is an adult. She's been in a wheelchair all her life. She can't move a muscle. I don't know what the heck you think you're going to do with her, but I'm going to bring her up there. And we figure it out. Not just me. I have a team of people like therapists and folks that know how to, work with folks with disabilities. And we find ways to help them participate. And they like it,
But what do they actually do?
We teach classes all during the week. Each student comes to about a 1-hour class. And while they're in their class, their moms and dads get a break, which is huge. And at the end of the year, it culminates into a recital, just like any other dance studio. It's just like any other dance studio. We have mirrors, we have floors, we do warm-ups, we teach them choreography, and they each get a volunteer helper. I don't expect anyone to come in there and just be able to do all that stuff. So they all get a volunteer to help them during class, either physically or just to keep them on task.
Right. And you started this. This was your brainchild.
I did. I'd been a dance teacher for 100 years, and now I have this autistic kid that can't participate in group activities. So, he liked rap music and he liked to dance around the house. And I thought, you know what? Let's just make a dance class where nobody's going to look at you weird or anybody weird, and we can do things to your ability. And we push them, It's not easy. It's hard for a lot of them, especially the ones with the physical disabilities, that we make them stand up and use their muscles, and they don't want to. But we make it fun, so it's not like work.
How does it impact the participants and the families? What do you see from them?
Honestly, I know we're not saving anybody's life there, but we're improving their quality of life. A lot of people, especially in the adult classes, after you're 21, you just kind of age out of all the programs that are available, unless your parents are both brain surgeons and can pay for all kinds of stuff. So, they can come there. They know it's a scheduled thing once a week. They're going to come there. They're going to be with their volunteer who's going to love on them and have fun with them. And we don't have to fight kids to come in that studio. They run in there.
Right. And so what is your role? What do you do on a daily basis there?
Well, I teach some of the classes, and then I also have teachers that do the rest of them, because that's a lot to put on one person. And I just, recruit volunteers, and if somebody's sick and misses class, I make sure to check on them. And I have a very horrible accounting system and an even worse organizational system. It's basically a Microsoft spreadsheet on my computer. So, if anybody's out there that wants to come check that on, I will be okay with that.
Right.
But it just, I don't know, it works. We don't do a lot of advertising or anything. People just find out about, if you build it, they will come kind of thing.
Right. Well, how has it impacted you as far, you started this, the Dance Without Limits. You did it for special needs children or special needs, individuals. But how has it impacted you? I assume it's got to make you feel good and give you some satisfaction.
It does. Even on my tiredest day, I don't think I've ever had a day where I didn't want to go. We're there 3 nights a week. There's never been a day that I just didn't want to go. They put your whole world in perspective. I always tell people, if they're having a bad day, just come up there and be around someone with special needs for 10 minutes, and your bad day evaporates. I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. I mean, usually anybody that spends time with someone with special needs will get a feeling like that.
And I would assume the parents must absolutely love it that they can take their kids there, let their kids have something to do, and give the parents a little bit of a break.
Well, we meant it very much for respite care for them as well. And I was assuming everybody would just go take a nap in their car or go to the liquor store or whatever special needs parents do. And they stick around and they talk to each other, and they've made these bonds with other parents. I mean, because where else can you go and be surrounded by people going through the exact same stuff you are, that your disabilities might be different?
The fact that, you were raising Rock, a special needs child, as far as your social life, as a parent, do you find that you are more, I guess more of your friends also have special needs children, or how's that work?
Yes, and we call ourselves the land of the misfit toys. We are such a random group of people that I would probably never have been friends with before, not because they're not great, just because I would not know them. And, some of my very, very best friends also have kids with special needs because they just get it. If you make plans, you're like, you know what, Rock's having a hard time. We ain't going to make it. I'm so sorry. They're not going to get their feelings hurt. They're going to be like, girl, I understand. Same here. Let's just do it another day. And hanging out with my friends with typical children, they're always so sweet and inclusive, but sometimes they're just situations they don't understand. But they still are great, and they try. It's just you have a closer bond with those that are going through the same thing. That's why, cancer survivors are close to each other, and anybody that's been through anything is closer to somebody that's also been through that,
Well, with all that you go through, before I even get there, we haven't even talked about what you do at Children's Hospital of Alabama. So, when I introduced you, I said, you do this in your spare time. Well, first of all, what do you do for the Children's Hospital of Alabama?
I'm a development officer down here for the Gulf Coast. So I serve Mobile and Baldwin County. And that basically means that I'm in touch with a lot of the families, our patient families down here, and I plan fundraising events that benefit the patients specifically from our area. And you're not going to go to the hospital in Birmingham for a broken bone or something. So most of our events are held for cancer or our heart program, organ transplant, our burn center. We have an arthritis center there too. Just more serious stuff.
Well, how do you find the time to do all this?
I don't do any of it well. I do it all very mediocre, and I'm so glad that people are okay with that.
And I know you're being self-deprecating because just in talking to you and getting to know you for the short time I have, I don't think you do anything that you don't do well. But anyway, so with all you've gone through, what have you learned about yourself?
I think maybe the biggest thing is that I'm not scared of anything anymore. Oh God, it's really hard to shock me or to give me a task that I'm afraid of. It's really hard to do. I can't imagine. I really can't think of any scenario. I'll jump out of an airplane. I'll do anything. I really am not scared of much at all. And I think Rock has helped me with that. And I think just life has helped me with that. And as you probably know, the older you get, the less you care about appearances or what people think. I'm so excited because I actually fixed my hair and put on a real outfit to come here. And it's radio. Nobody can even see me.
Well, we will take a picture of you at the end that will go on the graphics of the show. So you could have come in sweats. I didn't tell you to dress up.
I have this quote, and I can't even remember who said it, but it says, I don't want to know the me I would be without you. And I always tell that to Rock because pre-Rock, Kerrie was worried about all kinds of stupid stuff that doesn't matter at all. Post-Rock Kerrie is worried about important things.
Yeah, right. You don't sweat the small stuff anymore.
0%.
Okay. What's your philosophy on life? Do you have one? Certainly you do.
Sorta. I'm quoting one of my favorite radio program hosts, but she says, is this the way you want to live the rest of your life? And that's a question you need to ask yourself every day. And if it's not, then you change it. Just like people you see that are working at the cash register and they're rude and they, act like they could be anywhere else. If you don't like it, change it. Do something about it. Don't be ugly to everybody. Just change your stars. Do something else that makes you happy.
Well, when you ask yourself that question every day, what's your answer?
I feel very, very much this is where I want to be. Absolutely. And if I didn't, I would change it.
Yeah, there you go. All right. And maybe this isn't a fair question because everybody does things differently, but you have been through raising a severely autistic child. So, for parents out there that are say they've just gotten a diagnosis of autism for their child and say it's a severe one, what advice would you give them based upon what you've been through, maybe mistakes you've made that you wouldn't want anyone else to do? Just kind of give us the benefit of your experience.
I think a lot of people at first think of it as sort of a death sentence, the death to the child that they thought they were going to have. And it is. That child is not there. You got this child. And it's not the end of the world because they can turn out to be some of the most beautiful individuals on the planet, and they will change you. Also, get help. I didn't have family here, so we hired people and begged people and had wonderful, wonderful people circled around Rock to help us. Even if you needed to take a shower, ask somebody to come over and just watch them for 5 seconds, Don't get overwhelmed because it's very easy to hole up in your house and think you can do it all by yourself, but you can't. You got to get help. Nobody cares what your house looks like. Nobody cares if the clothes are clean or if the kitchen's full of dishes. Just get help and get over yourself. And also, don't hole up in your house. Take your kids places. Take your autistic kid that's screaming his head off somewhere to eat dinner, just because that's what you do. You don't hide in your house. You may have to eat at a certain table every time. We have certain tables at tons of restaurants. And if we sit anywhere else, it's hell on earth. And they know, like the Mexican place will move people out of our seat if they see us coming.
Right.
And it's just little stuff like that. People are so accommodating if you just let them know what's going on. So get out of the house, take your kids on trips, take them to the restaurant. Don't be scared of how they're going to act or if they flap their hands or act really weird. Who cares? Do it with them.
and I guess, it probably took you a little time to get to that place.
It did, but finally I was like, well, we're not going to be stuck here in this house all the time. We got to go. People are just going to have to watch you do this.
What advice, based on your life experience, for people that are just going through some tough times, that are facing adversity, what advice do you give just kind of generally based upon what you've been through?
I know what it's like to feel hopeless, but, personally, I might cuss a little bit, but I do love Jesus, and I've always had hope that he would take care of me and Rock and make sure that everything was going to turn out okay. I think prayer works a lot. I also think talking to people helps a lot. Even if you're embarrassed about whatever you're going through, I always feel better after I talk to somebody about it. Anybody. There's never anybody who can't find someone to listen, even if you have to pay them. Go get some therapy. Therapy's great.
I gotcha. If somebody wants to, volunteer or donate to Dance Without Limits, how can they do it?
We have a super nice website. It's just dancewithoutlimitsfoundation.org. And our volunteers, you don't have to know how to dance. You don't have to do anything. You have to be a living, breathing person. That's it. I'll teach you everything else you need to know. Like I said, most of our kids just need help physically, need someone to push their wheelchair, pick them up off the floor, and then some of them just need encouragement to get through the class. We're a volunteer-based organization. We would not survive without them. And I have a lot of the same volunteers that I had 10 years ago. They just stick with it. You don't just pop in and out of that place. It gets inside of you a little bit.
I gotcha. Same question about the Children's Hospital of Alabama. If somebody wants to donate, to that, to help out that cause, what can they do? Sure.
Well, we have a website here. It's just childrensal.org. And we have lots of events on the Gulf Coast. We have a golf tournament. We just had a sailing regatta. We'll have something called the Barn Bash at Moe's in November. We're working on a fishing tournament. Anything. Well, all of our events are outdoors, obviously, right now. But anytime you see one, we always advertise in the Mobile Bay Monthly and the Land Yap. If you see something that benefits our hospital, give to it, because 100% of the proceeds always go to the patients. They don't go to overhead. They don't go to the power bill. They go to patient care, which makes me feel good.
Right. Okay, so I always do this with all my guests. I give them the parting shot. Maybe a question I didn't ask that I should have, or something that, you've got on your mind that you would like to say. Now's the time to do it.
My biggest pet peeve is people that walk right past folks with disabilities, or the kid that's acting a little irrational in the grocery store line and just being a little judgy instead of stepping back and seeing what the situation was. I was too. I had no idea what autism was. I was uncomfortable around people in wheelchairs. I mean, the whole thing just freaked me out because I didn't know what to do or say. Even if you don't, still go up to the person, ask their name, look them in the eye, treat them like a human being. Don't be scared of saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. If they're little, their parent will appreciate that more than you know. Ask them about their diagnosis. Ask them, why are you in a wheelchair? That's a really cool wheelchair. There's some kind of conversation you can make with anybody. And even if you don't get much of a response, that person feels seen and heard and valued,
Right. So saying the wrong thing is better than saying nothing at all.
You're going to piss a parent off more by looking at them and staring at their kid than you are actually walking up and saying, hey, what's this diagnosis? Can I do anything to help you? Do you want me to get your groceries out to the car? I mean, just be a good person, It's really not hard. For some people it is.
Well, Kerrie, thanks so much for coming in. This has been a really great show, and I'm so delighted that you came in to tell your story. It's very inspirational, and just you're such an impressive person that dealing with what you deal with, and then turning it into positives where you've learned from raising your son, and then you take it into starting this dance without limits. I mean, it's just a remarkable story. And so thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for listening.
Kerrie Benson is just a breath of fresh air. Handling what she deals with every day with such humor and acceptance is remarkable. If that were not enough, she gives her time and has made a career out of helping others. The phenomenal stories just keep coming. Next week's guest is Crystal Yarbrough. She will tell her story of dealing with and overcoming constant sexual abuse as a child and teenager, and how she has used her past to help others. It's going to be a great show. See you next week. Rocket Motivation partners with Gat Creek, one of America's premier wood furniture makers. Clean, timeless designs define the Gat Creek look. Their made-to-order furniture effortlessly connects with a range of styles from modern to traditional. Check out their full range of products at gatcreek.com. If you're interested in getting my book, Get Back Up, just go to Amazon and put in Get Back Up and my name, Rod Caden. It'll pop right up. I would love it if you would subscribe to the podcast and rate and review the show wherever you listen to your podcasts. I would really appreciate it if you'd share it with a friend. I would like as many people to hear my message as possible. Never give up and always get back up. And we'll see you next week.